Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into this weekend. How the weekend starts, not how the weekend finishes. We start the weekend out in some really powerful and sensitive emotional energy. We have a Scorpio moon going on. This is going to activate the black moon, who is currently also transiting the sign of Scorpio. On Friday, we have a black moon conjunction, which will also trine Jupiter, also square the sun and Mercury. All types of inner conflict could be coming up on Friday. People could definitely be projecting. People may not be in the best mood, struggling with their own internal issues, fears, worries, insecurities, doubts, possessive, competitive. I think it's kind of a good day to kind of like go in our own shell a little bit on Friday, maybe not be so involved, not so in the mix of it. There's a strange interpersonal relational dynamic going on this weekend. Relationship breakdowns could be going on as well. Venus in the sign of Cancer actually squares Saturn and Neptune, both retrograde in Aries, which is contributing to this just like strange social situation that we could be experiencing. So there's that. Now, as we move into Saturday, we do begin to move into a more harmonious emotional energy. While we are still in black moon energy on Saturday, the moon has moved beyond all of those aspects from Friday and is now just making a trine to the north node of the moon, sextile to the south node in Mars. This is a good day for like spiritual connection, self-healing, again, like introspection, self-analysis, working on ourselves, shadow work. Friday and Saturday, this is more where you want to orient your energy. As we move into Sunday, we have Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto all being activated, all being engaged, all being lit up by the moon's transit into the early degrees of Sagittarius. You might wake up on Sunday morning and just find yourself feeling like the need to do something different, be impulsive, be spontaneous, switch something up, try something new. That is definitely a vibe on Sunday. There could also be some very shocking information or things just not operating according to their like normal mode of operation as we move throughout the day on Sunday. Sunday is probably a bit of an oddball Sunday in terms of what our Sundays normally are like. So we've got some rather interesting energy coming through to talk about in our report for today, you guys. Let's get into it. Let's take a closer look at how we're getting our weekend started. Friday moving into Saturday, what this vibe shift is bringing on Sunday, and what our setup is looking like for us as we prepare to enter the energy of next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, August 1st, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we are just going to take a good look at our energy forecast for the weekend and some of the ways that it could potentially be manifesting in our lives and the world around us. So that's what we're doing in the video. We've got some astrology to talk about, obviously. As I said in my intro, I do think specifically Friday, but both Friday and Saturday this weekend are likely to be like heavy on the emotional end of things. We've got a lot of water energy going on. The moon is making a lot of aspects. The moon is in Scorpio. We've got black moon energy. So again, specifically Friday, like things could feel kind of tense or overwhelming, or there could just be some like powerful emotional undercurrents driving people, driving reactions and responses and, you know, behavior and stuff like that. The shadow side issues, the subconscious programming, I think is going to be at the wheel in a lot of cases, maybe more so than usual this weekend. And people are probably just going to be projecting and responding to things from subconscious patterning more so than from like conscious choice. So could be something that it might benefit you to be mindful of or aware of in your dealings and interactions with others throughout the course of the weekend. Now, aside from that, we also have another aspect taking place that is similarly indicating some just like strange social dynamics, an inability to connect, an inability to relate, images that we have of people maybe breaking down, illusions and ideas and fantasies about relations or other relationships or other people could be crumbling for some reason to some extent. People might not be showing up for things. There could be cancellations, postponements, delays in terms of like dates and plans and dinners and stuff like that. And I think that people are going to generally be being more withdrawn, like wanting to kind of, you know, go in the cave and lick their wounds a little bit. Or I keep saying like go in the shell, because right now we have Venus has just entered the sign of Cancer, and she's making this square to Saturn and Neptune, which really is playing into a lot of this black moon energy and could be exacerbating it a little bit. Venus also being in the sign of Cancer, which is another water sign. Again, like we've got a very powerful water sign influence going on this weekend, and water oftentimes equals emotions, plus the moon on Friday. Already told you we're in black moon energy. The moon does come into a conjunction with the black moon. The black moon rules our fears, worries, insecurities, doubts. It is the subconscious programming that oftentimes is formed within the depths of our psyche as a trauma response, but we are generally unaware of it, and therefore it holds this inherent power over us because it's like the mode of operating that we unconsciously or subconsciously slip into when we feel threatened by something. And that's people being triggered, people lashing out, people doing stuff a bit irrationally from a very emotionally driven and triggered place. It is the fears, worries, insecurities, and doubts that, again, like a lot of times we're not even aware that we're responding to, but can often also have quite a self-sabotaging impact in terms of, you know, our relationship stability. And in the sign of Scorpio, this can really trigger the inherent fear of loss. It can make people very competitive, very possessive. And those of you who do happen to have like strong Scorpio or Taurus energy, because the black moon functions in polarities. That is why the black moon is actually activated twice a month whenever the moon is transiting through the sign where the black moon is, or the sign opposite the black moon. That is when that energy is going to be activated. And it also really applies to anyone who has already strong energy in either polarity associated with the black moon's current placement, which right now happens to be in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio stellium, you know, sun, moon, ascendant, even like Chiron, sign of Scorpio. Right now the black moon is, I think, at 14 or 15 degrees of the sign of Scorpio. So if you've got planets centrally located in either Taurus or Scorpio, you might be feeling this the most. All right. So that's the black moon energy. That's what it does. That's what it means. That's where it comes from. And I also feel though that like whenever we're dealing with this activated, triggered black moon energy, you know, nothing is ever purposeless. Nothing is ever for no reason. Yes, it does have a tendency of like bringing our deeper triggers and stuff to the forefront of our experience, whether it's just the way that we are unconsciously acting them out, or, you know, whether we are hopefully, and I think this is actually the greater purpose of the energy, gaining an awareness of what some of those shadow side issues actually are, so that we can begin a process of integrating them, healing them, overcoming them, releasing ourselves from them, no longer being like under the powerful grip of these, you know, as I said earlier, the subconscious, essentially like safety mechanisms that we put in place unknowingly in order to really protect ourselves from threats that may have been threatening in the past, but probably are interfering with our ability to find real peace and happiness and stability at this current point in our lives. So I always feel like black moon energy, while it can bring out the more ugly sides of people, places, and situations, the point behind it is giving us an opportunity to gain that awareness and therefore release ourselves from the grip of those shadows. Because, you know, when there is illumination going on, the darkness loses its power. The darkness only holds power in the absence of the light. And it only takes a little bit of light to, you know, illuminate and gain an awareness of a whole bunch of darkness. So that's that, and those all could be like relevant themes somehow, again, especially if you are Taurus or Scorpio heavy. Now, amplifying that even further, the moon in Scorpio, who is in the conjunction with the black moon on Friday, will also at that same point in time be forming a trine to Jupiter, who is currently in the sign of Cancer. So we've got a water sign trine taking place between the black moon and the moon aligned in Scorpio, and also Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Jupiter notoriously supersizes things, you guys. Now, where on one hand, in regular astrology, the moon trining Jupiter would be a very like uplifting, positive, lucky, fortunate day, restoring the hope in things, restoring belief in situations, making us and assisting us and facilitating our ability to see the bigger picture in things, allowing like the truth to come through somehow. The benefic Jupiterian influence in a trine to the moon is a very uplifting energy generally. However, considering the fact that we also have the moon in a conjunction to the black moon, while on one hand that may be the experience for some people, for other people, especially if you're being really activated by that black moon, it could actually just be supersizing and expanding the impact of the moon black moon conjunction. Okay, we're already talking about a Scorpio moon. That's already like a depth and a complexity to the feeling nature of things. It is very psychic, it is very intuitive. Like there's a very powerful sensitivity, emotional sensitivity all the way around. Strong intuition, strong like gut instinct in this energy. It can be very psychic, especially as we move Saturday into Sunday. Really pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to I don't know, like the visions. We've got a very visionary actually energy coming in on Saturday after some of this more tricky lunar activity subsides Friday moving into Saturday. But regardless, you know, this is a very sensitive, intuitively connected energy that we have going on. But the expansive influence of Jupiter, on one hand, I mean, Jupiter is the bigger picture. Jupiter is the truth. So when we're talking about that in the context of the black moon energy, and we also actually have Venus, and I will talk more about the symbolism at the end of the report today, but we actually have Venus at 2 degrees of Cancer for via Sabian symbol placement on Friday as she squares Saturn and Neptune exactly. And that Sabian symbol is a man on a magic carpet observes vast vistas below. I do believe one of our pieces of cosmic advice coming through this weekend is to try our best to maintain the bigger picture, to see the broader perspective, to see the more expansive view of things, not to allow ourselves to get maybe so caught up in like the narrow, in the moment seeming way that things are unfolding. Like there is a bigger picture here that is providing a greater truth maybe than whatever it is that we are seeing on the ground. And the fact that we have Jupiter in the trine to the moon and the black moon while the black moon is activated, as I said earlier, I do feel like this black moon energy, while it can often provoke the seeming worst in people, it does through that process give us an opportunity to gain the awareness of what the true problem actually is. Jupiter there could be like facilitating that process. Trine aspects do facilitate the flow of energy, and with it being Jupiter, this is perhaps gaining the wisdom to understand what's in the shadows, you know, what is really contributing to maybe some of these triggers that are going on. We just have I think we are being blessed in some capacity with an ability to figure out some of the things that we maybe have neglected or failed to see or understand about ourselves in the past that can actually lead to growth and expansion somehow. So I actually, you know, do sort of appreciate the trine to Jupiter, even though it may be also taking some of these like emotional reactions to things a bit over the top, a bit overboard, because the trine to Jupiter, you guys, that is also like an unlimited flow of whatever it is. Like there's no boundaries, there's no restraints, like it's just this free flow of whatever. And in water signs and to the moon and the black moon in Scorpio, it is some powerful emotions, okay, that we've got going on. Now, to second that again, Venus is exact in the sign of Cancer. More of this emotional energy is also exactly square Saturn and Neptune, cardinal square. They're at the first degree of Cancer, exactly aligned. This is happening on Friday also. And Saturn and Neptune together also breaks down boundaries, breaks down borders, no control, no limitation, no discipline. It's sort of just like a free for all and a free flow, and anything goes. And in the square to Venus in Cancer. Venus in Cancer wants to feel safe and secure and loved and nurtured and comforted. Like, that's the vibe, that's the draw, that's the attraction, and to like give and receive that when we have a Venus Cancer energy going on. Now with the square to Saturn and Neptune, it's like the total absence of something preventing us from feeling safe, from feeling secure, from feeling supported, from feeling worthy. I think people could also be struggling with like some self-worth issues. And I'll talk about that more in the report in the context of this black moon energy and this Venus square Saturn Neptune situation we've got going on. But this could lead to relationship breakdowns. This could lead to, again, some very like aloof, like uncharacteristically withdrawn behavior. People could be acting real weird, like there's likely to be very little regard for like appropriate social standards and behaviors here. Like, people could just be acting a bit wild, a bit out of control, like maybe like not having the respect or the demeanor or the appearance or like maintaining like the etiquette or something that they should in certain situations. Like, there could be some very socially awkward dynamics going on here, like some kind of like distasteful stuff maybe. And I will also say, like, this is a rebellious energy. This is a freedom-seeking energy, especially as we get into Sunday. I do think that people are going to be looking to like switch it up, change it up for some reason. But I don't know. We also have the moon in Scorpio squaring the sun and Mercury in the sign of Leo, who just made a conjunction yesterday on Thursday as well. On Friday. So that's another, we've got the moon conjunct the black moon, the moon trine Jupiter, the moon square the sun, the moon square Mercury, first quarter square moon energy. That is always one of the more like conflict ridden periods of the month, when the moon is either in the first quarter square or the third quarter square to the sun. It can just, it's kind of just like the sun square the moon, both luminaries not in a very harmonious flow together, internal conflict, things just experiencing like some interference and maybe like blockages and stuff. Plus we've got Mercury there as well. That's the mind, that's our thoughts and our ideas, and perhaps also our feelings about things at odds. This could also be like, I just got done telling you that we do have this strong intuitive energy going on. I have a feeling that like the gut feeling about things may not be exactly aligned with the ideas and the thoughts about things, and people perhaps not wanting to see the truth about things because maybe it makes them uncomfortable, or some truth somehow, or like the breakdown of some illusion or facade somehow leading to some place of like internal discomfort that people would rather avoid. I don't know, all types of stuff like that could be going on. And I do think that it is probably a good weekend not to be super like out and about and all in the mix of things. People just aren't, it's just not a super strong social energy, and we are much, much, much better served, again, like being in the shell, like being a bit hermit mode, self-analysis, introspection, again, like recognizing what is actually bothering us and doing some of that like shadow side work or like self-healing. Anything that we can do to get to the root of some of our own emotional issues, maybe also allowing ourselves to see or feel the truth about some things, even if it does happen to be uglier or darker than we would have imagined or than we would like to admit. This is what this energy is for, especially with that Jupiterian trine here. Getting deep or hidden feelings out into the open. This could be a theme that's just kind of like organically happening. Things could just be spilling out here. Again, with Jupiter, okay, this could be an overflow of emotions going on. This could also be with the moon in Scorpio trine Jupiter in Cancer, there could just generally be things having to do with a lot of water. Venus in Cancer, also squaring Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Unrestrained flow of water, or there could be like lots of rain or like water issues or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised with all of this excessive water energy if there is like literally some type of major, big, unstoppable flow of water that goes on somehow. So maybe another thing to be mindful of, but things are rising to the surface here. This is, remember, we're also in a lunar cycle right now that has everything to do with unearthing and exposing things, seeing under the surface, seeing behind the curtain, shining a light into the shadows. The new moon in Leo was in an exact opposition to Pluto. Like, this is detective new moon cycle. This is solving mysteries. This is X-ray vision, and it falls right in alignment with this energy that we do have going on this weekend. Even though it's the black moon energy, it is still allowing us to gain insight, to gain awareness, to illuminate something that's been hidden in a way that can help us to release something, to end something, to change something, or to grow and expand and heal somehow. So ultimately, it is at its core quite a regenerating energy. It's just like, are we going to be able to pick up on the memo of that or not? Or are we going to interpret everything through the lens of just the discomfort and the the triggers that are brought out in this energy? And again, like, all of this stuff could just make the desire to retreat be quite strong. And I do think that that is a good way to utilize the energy on Friday. Social situations, again, that like do go on could just be uncomfortable or off-putting or weird, out of control somehow. And with this square happening, cardinal signs, Venus at 2 degrees, Cancer, Saturn, and Neptune retrograde, 2 degrees of Aries, feeling as though things are lacking peace, lacking justice, lacking balance, fairness, attraction, appeal, value, worth, sensation, pleasure, comfort, compassion, nurturing, love, beauty, taste, or abundance, security, or stability somehow. These could also be things that are coming up that are somehow triggering these insecurities, making us feel unsafe, making people project, making people lash out, fears of loss. Again, Venus in Cancer wants comfort, nurturing, safety, security, love, affection, to give and receive care and compassion. But when we have the square going on to Saturn and Neptune exactly aligned, and this is a cardinal square, this is an action-oriented, initiatory energy, there just seems to be like, instead of the security and the safety and the comfort that we would prefer, it's like there's actually very little that we can rely on. Although we're not even really sure, because nothing is actually straightforward, not very much makes sense, nothing is really clear. So we could be doubting a lot of things that before we had felt quite certain of or quite sure of. This is things breaking apart, breaking down. This Saturn and Neptune both retrograding together is not a stabilizing force. So whether it's like the doubt itself that could be coming up as a result of questioning the state of things generally and whether we can rely on them, or a legitimate like lack of support that is coming through right now when we feel like we need it, that is kind of making us question a lot of things and maybe feel a lack of comfort, safety, or security, or being able to like get what we want or get our needs met somehow. There's just something here. I think a lot of people could be also feeling abandoned, neglected, forgotten, like betrayed, fooled, not taken seriously, not supported, like disregarded somehow. Because with that, as I said, Venus in Cancer, this is like wanting to feel loved and cared for and safe and secure and comfortable ultimately. But Saturn and Neptune together, as we've been talking about for weeks now, you guys know this is like not that. Like, this is a very dissociated, very detached, very unstructured, very unsupportive, very like whimsical, sort of like there's no boundaries, like there's no structure, there's no rationality to things. Like this is not an energy that is going to provide the framework for any type of security. And with this square going on between those planets and Venus, this is some type of conflict that is arising as a result of essentially like our needs not being met. Venus is also money, it's also worth, it's also love and relationships. There could be this sense, again, like I was saying earlier, of like not being enough, like feeling like we're unworthy because maybe people aren't showing up or we're not feeling supported. And then we bring the black moon energy in, and that is like already triggering like our inherent fears of loss and making us insecure about things, and people maybe being hyper possessive and hyper competitive about things. And then we've got the Jupiterian energy there, which could be contributing to these like overblown emotional responses to stuff. So again, I think it's better to kind of like deal with our issues ourselves as we move through the week this week, not project them onto other people, not expect other people to be responsible for them, not expect other people especially to take them seriously or to heal from them, even if they are the reason that we're having that emotional experience, even if they are the source of our suffering. This is not the weekend where you really want to be projecting your emotions onto somebody else and expecting them to do something that is going to give you some type of relief, because the way that this energetic setup is laying itself out, the only relief we get in this situation is through our ability to be the Hermit card in the tarot, to go within, to seek inner illumination, to gain self-awareness, to gain self-understanding, to examine the root of our own issues, to figure out, you know, the stem of that wound or that cycle or that trauma that keeps perpetuating or keeps repeating, or that we just keep dealing with over and over again, or, you know, all of that type of stuff. Like, we need to be able to take a good look at our own issues. This is like great for internalized depth psychology in a way that can essentially help us to regenerate and reprogram our own subconscious mind to actually be able to more consciously choose the trajectory of things, people, places, situations, as opposed to, again, being controlled by this powerful subconscious force that we are often not even aware of, but that is stemming from these shadow side issues that we prefer not to look at. So getting to the root of our own issues is grade A, like, quality use of time this weekend. Trying to make other people deal with them because we are like subconsciously afraid of something is only going to probably make the situations more painful, because it's universe driving us back into ourselves. Also, Venus and Cancer, as I said, squaring those planets in Aries, Saturn and Neptune, that is an indication that we should be in the shell. Okay, Saturn square Venus, that is an isolating energy also. And that Jupiter, though, I do think this is the truth will set you free, okay? And it is helping us to be able to gain that greater perspective, that broader perspective, that elevated perspective, to maybe like step out of whatever these triggers are that may have been pulling us down or holding us down. Also, that Venus degree, you guys, 2 degrees of Cancer, a man on a magic carpet observes vast vistas below. So, aside from issues with self-worth, maybe, or feeling like we're alone in the world and absolutely can't relate or connect to anyone at all for some reason, obviously relationship dynamics are likely to be playing a part in this weekend as well, with Venus being highlighted. Venus squaring Saturn and Neptune, again, you guys, that is a breakdown in commitments and investments in relationships of all kinds. So that could be a theme that's sort of been an ongoing theme over this past couple of weeks. And with Venus in the sign of Cancer, again, a lot of this could be stemming from a feeling or a sentiment that our needs are just not being met for some reason, and a lack of tolerance for that. Venus in Cancer wants to feel cared for. Things falling short of that feeling are probably just not going to be appealing and probably not going to be attractive, especially this weekend. And also, this is really not a good energy to start any type of new relationship, to get involved with any type of new investment or commitment. Either it will like ultimately end up not being real and never have been being real, and you've just been taken for some type of ride or played for some type of fool, or it will just not be what it appeared for some reason, or it just won't have any staying power. It won't be able to ground itself, and it definitely won't be able to endure for the long term. Whenever we have Venus in a harsh aspect with Neptune, this is never a good time to get into a relationship, because something about it is not real, is not solid. It's like more of a vision or a fantasy or an ideal, but it's probably most likely to end in some type of disappointment, because Neptune energy breaks things down. It doesn't solidify things. And especially in the conjunction to Saturn retrograde, there is just like no there. Like there is no staying power. So anything to do with money, anything to do with relationships, like investments, commitments, anything that you like want to grow and be successful and to become abundant, any like seeds that you're planting right now, especially if they're very Venus oriented, probably want to just like not lock it down in this specific energy, because again, like things are just not going to translate into what the ideal or the vision is in energy like this. People could also be very delusional and very idealistic about things and people and situations that are actually very unrealistic. And also, as I think I mentioned earlier, there's kind of like a total lack of boundaries, like a total lack of respect, a total lack of consideration, things being all over the place. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are like taking advantage of other people's compassion and kindness and nurturing and care in this energy. And there's just like a lack of reciprocity, a lack of balance, a lack of fairness going on. This could also represent like toxic empathy type of vibes, like enablers and people like not wanting to tell people the truth about things or to tell people no, because they're trying to like avoid being disliked, even though they're actually doing more harm than good by like enabling that process. So I feel like that type of energy could be more relevant for some reason this weekend as well. This is not the most honest energy. This is not the most trustworthy, not the most straightforward, at least in the context of like other people. Like, for example, I think a lot of people are going to be going through it, right? But they're probably not going to want to admit to other people why exactly they're canceling plans. So people could just be sort of like bending the truth or being unclear or being vague. Just like not being super straightforward, just because I feel like a lot of people are going to want to be keeping things to themselves. Scorpio energy is like a deeply personal and private energy, and people, I think, again, like are going to be pulling inwards. So if somebody is canceling plans with you and they're not being real clear about it, probably like don't press the situation. My guess is that they're just going through something personal or something emotional, and they gotta like work on their own issues, and they're just like not feeling being able to do the social vibe, but they also don't want to tell you because it will make them feel vulnerable. So I think like maybe giving some grace to people, you know, this weekend, and yourself as well. Like if you find yourself in that situation, don't feel horrible like you have to put yourself through something that you really can't handle just to like keep somebody else happy. That also could be the way that this is working out, like people doing things that they really don't want to be doing because they did agree or they did commit, but it just like they're just not in it, and it's counterproductive to what they really need in terms of like their own self-care and stuff like that. So both ways, or either way that it could go. If you need to have some time to yourself, take a time out this weekend, I think it's best just to do it and not worry about how other people are going to react or respond or take it. And you don't owe anybody either like an in-depth explanation into why you need to deal with your own issues also. Unless, of course, they're like your best friend and you always tell them everything, and it would be weird for you not to. But that is what people are going to be doing, because relationship dynamics are just like weird this weekend. So Let's talk more about Saturday. Now, you guys, we are still in black moon energy as the moon continues to move through the sign of Scorpio. However, the moon is no longer making all of those kind of like harsh, tricky aspects. And even though the trine to Jupiter, again, like is generally a more uplifting aspect, it does also supersize emotions and could have been just taking things a bit over the top. We do have, I would say, a much more emotionally regulated energy on Saturday. A sense of internal harmony is more likely on Saturday, and I think it's just generally less emotionally charged than what we had going on Friday. On Saturday, the moon in Scorpio will trine the north node of the moon in Pisces and sextile the south node of the moon and Mars in the sign of Virgo. This is a good day, I think, on Saturday for spiritual connection. It's a more chilled out day, more laid back, more relaxed, more of kind of like a dreamy, visionary oriented day, like a mystical energy type of day. Spiritual connection, engaging with the imagination, creativity, and orienting ourselves internally with what it is that we, wish to create and who we want to be and how we want our lives to look and become. This is a good way to kind of like orient our mind's eye and the like feeling nature of things on Sunday. We are very supported, I think, in our visionary capacity with the moon in Scorpio trining the north node in the sign of Pisces. So allow yourself, I think, on Sunday, maybe the opportunity to daydream, maybe to consider some possibilities that are like outside your traditional standards, outside your traditional norms. And although, of course, this is another quite powerful emotional day, we do have more water trines going on, and there could be excessive overflows of things as well on Saturday, because the north node is another astrological point that also like draws things out and draws things forward, and this can also create like an excess and abundance of energy. And we've got that water trine going on, so there could be excessive water again, or a lot of feelings again indicated on Saturday, but it is more regulated, it is more controlled, and it is more, I think, like future oriented as well. So being able to kind of just give ourselves the opportunity to dream a little bit may be beneficial somehow. This is, I think, just going to be a less stressful day. However, we do still have the Venus, Saturn, Neptune square taking place. Although it's no longer exact, Venus has moved 1 degree ahead, so it is slightly waning. This is not as strong as it was on Saturday, or on Friday, but still everything that I have already said about that square between Venus and Cancer and Saturn and Neptune and Aries still applies on Saturday. I do think that this is still probably a more like socially isolated day. People probably are just going to want to be like hanging out at home. And again, there could be like a spiritual draw. Like you could feel like, I don't know, like meditating or even doing something creative, like painting and stuff like that, or just being more low key. I think generally, maybe just like even getting lost in a book or something with the fantasy oriented nature of Pisces, a strong Pisces energy. That could be something, ways that the energy is expressing itself to us on Saturday. Now on Sunday, let's start talking about Sunday now. This is where things kind of like come back to life, like get a bit of a jump start. We definitely have a vibe shift taking place overnight on Saturday into Sunday, and you may feel like a change as you wake up on Sunday. Now that is because the moon, of course, leaving Scorpio, entering the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy right now, especially the very first degree, 0 to 3 degrees of Sagittarius, is activating, lighting up, engaging 4 big planets in the sky right now. This is this bundling of energy that I have been talking about for weeks, and it is a trine that is happening between Uranus and Pluto in air signs that is about transitioning us forward into a new future in some unexpected and very transformative ways. And then also Saturn and Neptune, who I've been talking about in this report in the context of their square to Venus, well, we're going to be talking about them again in terms of the Sagittarius moon, but they are in an exact conjunction in the sign of Aries, which actually functions as the exact midpoint between Uranus and Pluto in their air sign trine together. Saturn and Neptune are both sextile Pluto and sextile Uranus. And Neptune and Pluto are, or Neptune and Saturn in their conjunction are about breaking things down, removing boundaries, removing barriers, breaking down frameworks, tradition, convention, authority, control. This whole dynamic right here is leading to a transition from the centralization of power and authority and information and just the way that life in our 3D reality has operated for long periods of time to a decentralization of essentially like all these same things and themes. We're moving from a very centralized world to a very decentralized world, and that is also reflected in this greater paradigm shift that we're going through right now, our transition into the age of Aquarius. We are narrating the shift of the ages on this channel, and I'm always talking about, you know, what is happening on a day-to-day basis and how these energies are likely to be manifesting in our lives and making us feel, as I already have so much in our video for today. But I'm also always keeping, as I have also mentioned in this report, that bigger picture perspective of things, that overall context. It's like, yes, this is what is happening, but why is it happening on that greater level? Like, what's the true purpose of this particular series of events, energetic activations? Like, how is that furthering the overall goal, the overall plan, the overall process, which in this case is our literal shift of ages? And this specific energetic bundling right here, like, it is foundational in terms of our paradigm shift into that new energy, and also distancing us and detaching us from the historical paradigm and frameworks of things that we have been involved with up until this period of time as a part of that, of course, process of decentralization. Whenever this bundling of planets is activated right now, it's like the universe coming through and facilitating that shift, facilitating that transition, and we are likely to see things play out that reflect that in both small, minute, the tiniest ways, and also in big ways on the world stage that are undeniable and unavoidable. So we've got this energy activated, and it's going to be activated regularly for a long time. We're talking about like years, where we've got at least a year where this specific bundling of planets is going to be doing its thing multiple times a month, regularly. It is just, we are going through a very active point, I think, of energetic like frequency recalibration at this time. And, yeah, these aspects that are coming through right now are playing a huge role in that process. So anyways, Sunday, this whole situation is being lit up again as the moon enters Sagittarius, opposes Uranus at 0 Gemini, sextiles Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius, trines Saturn and Neptune at 1 degree of Aries right now. So this whole energy situation is re-engaged on Sunday. That has to do essentially with like steamrolling the past somehow in order to lay the foundation or pave the way to the future path that is simultaneously emerging. So Sunday could be an unusual day. The moon opposite Uranus at 0 degrees of Gemini. I mean, first and foremost, this is people shocking you with what it is that's coming out of their mouth, but it is also like, I think people are going to be waking up and just needing to do something different, inspired to change or to try something new or to switch things up somehow. There is probably something lacking about the energy of Sunday in terms of standards, customs, norms, rules. Something unexpected could occur in the morning or throughout the course of the day. Sudden changes to plans, schedules, again, like maybe shocking information or messaging that comes through somehow. This is definitely like a thinking outside the box type of vibe, like solving problems with innovative and novel solutions, coloring outside the lines. Again, like convention, rules, authority, tradition, the normal blueprint of things is not like the operating mode for the blueprint of Sunday. You could just feel this motivation or this urge to switch things up, alter or change plans, be impulsive, be spontaneous. The whole day, therefore, could just be a bit different somehow on Sunday. And when we're talking about the moon in opposition to Uranus, this is an emotional draw, like a magnetism and attraction, like opposites attract, right? And this is what we're feeling about things. This is like like feeling drawn to the new, the innovative, the exciting, the unique, the original, the authentic, the mysterious, the unusual, but just definitely not the dull, the boring, the mundane, the monotonous. Like, that could be kind of crazy making in this energy. Like, nobody really wants that. Nobody really wants to participate here. There is a need to like break some mold or break some standard or break some typical conformity for some reason. It's not rule following energy. This is probably going to present a bit of difficulty in managing or containing or keeping people or situations under control somehow. This is rebellious. This is definitely freedom seeking energy, like for sure. Or again, you may just learn something that is like way outside the bounds of your beliefs about what you had ever fathomed or considered to be possible somehow. Shocking news, shocking announcements, shocking information, sudden revelations, secrets revealed, things being exposed. All of these type of things could be generally indicated as strong potentials in the energy of Sunday. So give yourself some freedom to try something new or to do something different on Sunday. That's really what this energy is calling for. Don't keep yourself boxed in, especially if things are feeling intolerable. Maybe like just making a change could bring some relief. And I'd say overall, a spicy day on Sunday. There is definitely a more like buzzing, electrified energy going on. And it's probably not for the worse. I would say these are most likely relatively like invigorating and stimulating changes or ideas or concepts or events or whatever it is that goes on. Shakeups are more likely, but they're probably not all that bad, although they may be uncomfortable with the Venus square going on. Also though, do be careful with fire, maybe also driving or in transit, traveling. This can be a more accident prone energy if we're getting too excited or getting too whipped up about things and just like not paying all that great of attention. And with the moon also trining Saturn and Neptune, like a lot of people aren't going to be paying that good of attention because that is just this more like all over the place, lacking discipline, lacking control, not focused. Lots of distractions and stuff could also be going on in the energy of Sunday. People could be very distracted, very charged up, and also very ungrounded. Like this is a lot of hot air, you know what I mean? So people could be kind of flying all over the place, a little bit like a hot air balloon, and you may just want to up your observational awareness I don't know, when you're out and about doing things. So overall, Friday, we may be dealing with some emotional triggers, right? With the black moon energy, not all that social, maybe feeling like we're on an island all by ourselves, cast out, cast away, cut off, like not supported, not loved, like not cared for. This is not the truth, you guys. Obviously, this is just a passing emotion, and it may just be trying to point out to us some deeper issues that we need to work on to come to a point of greater self-healing and get right with ourselves so that, you know, maybe the world starts reflecting something different back to us. Everything stems, you guys, with what's going on inside of us. So there's that. Now Saturday, and relationship issues of course could also be coming up on Friday. Saturday, the emotional intensity does ease up a bit. We do have this more regulated flow of emotional energy coming through. We are coming out of the shell a little bit, although this may still be a bit of an emotionally withdrawn, isolated day, as we kind of like seek a spiritual connection maybe, or just want to chill out or get lost in some vision or some book or just some happy place and not be so interactive with the world. Now Sunday, we are I do think more likely to engage. We do come in, as I've already just got done talking about, with this like this quick jolt to the system with the moon opposing Uranus at 0 Gemini, and the whole day may just take a bit of a different course as a result of that initial stimulation. A bit abnormal, maybe a bit electrified, not in a bad way, but maybe just in a different or unusual way. So use the weekend, you guys. My advice: self-awareness, self-healing, making changes, trying something new, allowing ourselves to like think outside the box a little bit, maybe open to some new possibilities, and be kind of future focused. That's another thing. The moon opposite Uranus in Gemini is allowing us to emotionally connect to maybe an alternative set of future possibilities. So allow it to go on. I want to talk about some symbolism for a minute. As I've already told you guys, we have Venus at 2 degrees of Cancer as she squares exactly Saturn and Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries. That symbolism: the man on the magic carpet observes vast vistas below, the bird's eye view, you guys. And where are Saturn and Neptune right now? You guys know this one. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. 2 degrees of the sign of Aries. That Sabian symbol is a comedian entertaining the group. So seek the elevated perspective, and maybe, just maybe, try not to take things so seriously. Maybe look for humor in our situations as opposed to just grief, especially if they truly aren't that serious and it is more of just an emotional reaction than maybe it needs to be. There has to be some wisdom inherent in that elevated perspective, man on the magic carpet, Venus positions square Saturn and Neptune at the comedian entertaining the group. So we also, one more thing on Friday, while all that tricky moon energy is coming together, the Earth is at 10 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. That's an interesting symbol, and I do think that maybe we could find, I don't know, like it could be pertaining to maybe some of the struggles that are going on out there having to do with the black moon issues and just the Venus Saturn square and all of that. The Sabian symbol of 10 Aquarius is a man who had for a time become the embodiment of an ideal, is made to realize that as a man, he is not that ideal. And with Venus squaring Neptune, which rules ideals, and Saturn, which is realism, in a conjunction together with both of them retrograde, there could really be something here about the ideals that we have held or that we have been holding or applying to people or relationships or situations or goals or even ourselves. Like, they could be crumbling. They could be like falling from the pedestal. Like, there could be things here where, like, again, like the ideal or the illusion or the fantasy that we have been committed to is suddenly like showing cracks or just like not what we thought it was. Or maybe we are just finding ourselves no longer as like enmeshed with or drawn to whatever that ideal is. Or maybe, just as the symbol is saying, we are realizing the ideal that we have held for ourselves to attain is no longer in alignment with who we're realizing that we are or the person that we are in the process of becoming. And that could also be causing some issues. So I find it to be interesting that like that was the symbol while we have the Venus Neptune Saturn square, because like, again, like issues with self-worth, self-value, what we're contributing, the give and take of things, ideals, fantasies, realism, practicality, like, and a sense of disappointment perhaps as well. Remember, we do still have Chiron right now at 28 degrees of Aries, a large disappointed audience. That's been another thing that's kind of been lingering out there for a while. And Chiron just stationed retrograde as well. So there's that, you guys. Maybe just some food for thought. We have the North Node currently at a table set for an evening meal. The moon will trine the North Node on Saturday. So that's what I have to say today, you guys. That's how I feel about this energy as it comes together for us this weekend. I am going to get us a synchronicity card now. We are going to get some guidance from God, Spirit, Universe. I am asking for a piece of advice. What should we keep in mind? What should we consider? What should we tell ourselves as we move throughout the course of the weekend? There's our card. And our spiritual memo for the weekend is God's the boss, which, with all of the breakdown in authority and rules and structures and frameworks and discipline and control of things right now, that could be causing just a bit of uncertainty or lack of comfort, this is probably some good advice. It says, God's the boss. Who then is that faithful and wise steward? Luke 12:42. You must do your job joyously and faithfully in the knowledge that God is your boss. Your subconscious will then respond and promote you and remove obstacles to your success. Have a constructive vision, be faithful to your vision, show respect for authority, and you will be prospered along all lines, which yet again seems to be probably some of the most beneficial advice that we could apply in the context of the energy this weekend. I was talking about how Saturday is a very visionary type of day. This is specifically saying, have a constructive vision, be faithful to your vision, show respect for authority, and you will be prospered along all lines. Also, it's talking about the subconscious. Do your job joyously and faithfully in the knowledge that God is your boss. There's that Jupiterian influence coming into the trine with the black moon lunar energy. Your subconscious will then respond and promote you and remove obstacles to your success. So if you are of the mind to do some shadow work this weekend, you guys, this might be a good place to start. So that's what I have to say, you guys. That's how I feel about how things are going and flowing for us energetically this weekend. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys, share it with your friends if you think that they also would like this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, let me know if you are having experiences out there that reflect what I'm talking about in these videos. That's super valuable information to me. I really appreciate knowing what's going on with you out there. So let me know, drop me a comment in my comment section below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of those boards. You can find that in my description box below. There's a link. Click on it. It will take you to the Facebook group and you can see the images of the boards if it's something that you're interested in. And that's all I have to say. Come back with me, you guys, on Monday. On Monday, we will have a new week of astrology to get into. We have Mars changing signs energy. We got a big vibe shift coming up soon. Mars is wrapping up his transit of the sign of Virgo, preparing to enter Libra. That is what is coming up next. I will be back next week to talk all about it. You don't want to miss it. I will see you next time, guys. Have a beautiful weekend. And until then, bye.